Hey there, everyone. This is Barry with Barry Fast Cars, and I'm a little late to the party here, but I wanted to do a little deep dive into the Aston Martin DB12. I am pretty ecstatic about this car. It's one of the few cars right now, new cars, that I couldn't be really more stoked about. I think Aston Martin is on a crazy trajectory right now. It is very impressive what Lawrence Stroll has done. Obviously, there's a few things that I think some of us would critique, but this vehicle certainly isn't one of them. But let's just dive in. I have some nice, relatively high res photos in a gallery here that we could jump into. So, obviously, this is ostensibly a DB11 facelift, if you will, but it's a fairly extensive facelift. It's pretty impressive what they've done. So down to the base chassis, rather the suspension has been thoroughly upgraded, and it has very high-tech dampers that have apparently an extreme range of settings, if you will. From I guess a track setting to for stiffer rebound and the like, to a nice soft Grand Touring setting. So they're calling this a Super Grand Tour, which you can't disagree with. It's a 680 horsepower rear wheel drive with a back seat and a trunk, and it's a front engine, so it's a GT car. But they say they invented the class where I guess 599 or an F12 Ferrari or even an 812 is, I guess, considered a supercar, even though it's front engine with a trunk. It's a Berlinetta, so it doesn't have rear seats, but you'd still, in some respects, look at it as a GT, a super GT. But they were the first ones to call a car a super GT, so here we are. But what a launch color, eh? Of course, green and gold is absolutely iconic for a British car. I would believe it would be traced back to Lotuses. Certainly some Elans rock this color. But, I mean, a fantastic grille. It's a bigger grille than a DB11 from your memory. You can definitely just look it up, what a DB11 looks like. There's a few around here. I live in California, and there's actually a few local DB11s, and so I get to see them, pretty regularly, and I love the car. And I've always been obviously the V12 is very cool. The V12 that exists in the DB11, and more recently the DB11 AMR, because they actually dropped it for the base DB11. So the DB11 already eliminated the V12 in some sense. A few years back, I think it was almost 4 years ago now. I think it was the Geneva Auto Show. They dropped the AMR models. They had an AMR DB11 and an AMR Rapide, which is a very hot car as well. But they brought in a bit of this Superleggera, the DBS Superleggera styling, which is no bad thing. But we have metal grille work, which is fantastic. I'll get my only gripe out of the way right now, and that is the sensor for, I suspect, distance control for the cruise control, because we already have park distance sensors here. So this square, if you can see my cursor at the bottom of the grill, breaking up that beautiful line is I won't say tragic. I just did, but it's not tragic, but it is a bit of a bummer. And in certain colors, it will disappear. But it's just, you'll see in some pictures, I feel like there's just a better option of integrating that. But this is nitpicking to the max. So we have, again, a DB11 chassis, but as far as I can tell, an entirely new body. So the interesting thing is, the front quarter fenders, if you can see my cursor, the old hood was a full clamshell that wrapped over to the side vents. But this one does not, which is there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care either way. It's no doubt less expensive to produce this setup, and it looks fine. And they kept the beautiful side gills, which I love on this car. And they actually look better because the wheels are larger. So the side gill actually, I think the side gill could work if maybe a tiny bit better if it was just a little bit lower. So this line actually at the top of the wheel became level before it went back. But that's, again, just nitpicking. So really, and who am I to say? But I love how slim the rear end looks here, the vertical height of the window, and that has to do with the length of the car. And we'll get into what I think is possible because of the length of this car. It has to do with race cars. But we'll just move along here. We have the fender vent here, which is a fully functional fender vent. This extracts air, I believe, not just from the wheel well, which can build up high pressure, but also the engine bay. There's got to be some ventilation from the engine bay into the wheel well, and it's extracted out this side vent, which is just stunning. I don't know if this lights up here, this bright work. It'd be very cool if it did, if that was the side marker repeater. And something I'm so happy they did is made the A pillar to C pillar, body color. Anytime I designed on the configurator a DB11, I would put a V8 in it. I would go for the V8 model because it's lighter weight. It's an AMG engine, so debatably more reliable. And I would always make this, I'd make a black roof, and then you have the floating pillars, but body colored, which is just a great look. I would probably even go for black mirrors, which I don't always do, but I think they would disappear quite nicely into this design if the mirrors were blacked out fully. But that is, again, just my preference. Something I love is black brakes because it doesn't take away from the beautiful bronze or gold wheels. We'll find some wheel pictures of it static. This is the best angle, but you can see in the rear, essentially DB11, and that's no bad thing. That is one of the sexiest cars on the market, and at this point, I would say one of the most aspirational cars out there. For me, this is a more aspirational vehicle than almost any McLaren. I really like the McLaren GT. I think the McLaren GT is the best car designed that McLaren has come out with. And I'll probably make a video on McLarens in general, but I think it is by far the most cohesive design of any McLaren to date, bar none. I love some of the other models, but the GT is just, I think, a stunner, and like I said, a very cohesive design, and almost in a sense in this same category. Even though it's mid-engine, they consider it a GT, hence the name McLaren GT. It has a fairly useful front trunk, and it has a lift back. I haven't driven a GT, but I have poked around it, sat in them, and one thing I love about McLarens is I fit in them really well. I'm 6'2", and because of the carbon chassis, you fit in it really well. There's just a lot of space. This still has the, oh wow. So it doesn't look like there's a light here. That would have been a really cool idea to have it, the side repeater in this bright work, but that is just stunning. So one thing I'll say is I don't like the Aston Martin written out on the trunk. If I had a DB12, when I have a DB12, we'll throw it out there, I would definitely not have the Aston Martin written out. I love the wings, and they just updated the logo. I would just have the Aston Martin wings. I would not have it written out. But on the side, that's fantastic. That just looks really, really beautiful. I love bright work on cars. Everything's blacked out, murdered out, as they say, or I like bright work again. I've reverted back to old school. I want bright work on my cars. Not too much, but nice, elegant bright work. I love here we're eliminating shut lines. So the trunk shut line goes all the way to the we can't call this full thing a diffuser, of course, but a diffuser aesthetic, lower valance. I love that shut line is eliminated. It just gives that monolithic, again, cohesive design. Just I adore the elimination of shut lines as much as possible. And we have one really cool, you can't see, it's not lit up, but the long third brake light, which is great. You guys may or may not know that this has this fun detail, if you will, where there's an intake behind the rear window, the I guess the B pillar glass, if you will, between the B pillar lists and the C pillar. There's an opening here that channels air through the side of the car and into this little channel here, which actually releases air. So it makes a wall of air at speed, which of course is accelerated and is a stronger wall of air at higher speed. So it balances with the speed of the car, which is a really cool idea. I just am a little bummed that we have, again, a shut line here. It would be very nice if instead of having that, we just had a slightly larger diffuser, especially since this is front engine and you got your downforce that way. But this is, again, a relatively elegant solution. But I just adore no shut lines because that's me. So we have a dual exhaust. I mean, it looks good, and they're real exhaust, so I won't complain there. I will just say, if there's any car that deserves quad exhaust, it's a damn near 700 horsepower Aston Martin. There's a lot of space here, and I think they could absolutely get away with it. But by the same token, I sincerely appreciate the subtlety of keeping it dual exhaust and functional, and it's not a complaint. If I ever had this car, I would black out these reflectors that are federally mandated, but you didn't hear it from me. And the taillights, I mean, they were just timeless already, so why would you mess with them? They're one of the coolest taillight designs out there, and it is updated. You have this, I don't know what the technology is. It almost looks like the BMW OLED wire lights that they have, but wow, just a great look. Here's a great look at those wheels. I believe they are 21s. Maybe we'll get a close-up of the wheels. So obviously the headlights are updated too, and they have this new triple DRL, daytime running light situation going on above the projector. So we would have it, I would suspect the outboard is the regular low beam projector, and the inboard projectors for high beams. And then you always have, these might turn into, the top three would probably be repeaters, turn signal repeaters. They talked about in press that the grille is larger, but it's actually proportionately correlated to Aston DB5. The overall frontal area and the grille in relation to the frontal area and the headlights. Now, I've spent some time around a DB5. My uncle actually owns a beautiful, relatively original burgundy DB5. And it's been on Laguna Seca before. My dad and uncle have driven around Laguna Seca. I think it'd be extremely special if Aston Martin gives me the chance to bring this by my uncle's place and we could get it side by side with the DB5 and, analyze, what would that be? Almost 70 years of design evolution. What a storied brand. What a topsy-turvy history the brand has had. And it just, to come out like this, especially right now with Formula One being so popular and Aston doing so well, and my guy, Fernando Alonso, on the podium, essentially every race. So we have these wheels being so large, and I suspect there's a smaller wheel design. We could even go on to the Aston Martin configurator. Wouldn't be a bad idea. But they make the car look smaller because they're larger, and I believe they are 21s. They make the car, which is 1 inch larger than prior availability. We have a nice cutout here that extracts air from, again, either or both the wheel well and the engine bay, because this engine is going to get hot. This is a hot V twin turbo AMG V8 tuned by Aston Martin to 680 horsepower. That is the highest spec of this motor in any car. There's the flat plane crank version of this engine, which is, of course, quite different as well. That's in the Black Series, AMG Black Series. But again, there was no need. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There was no need to overly design. I'm so happy they went with the DB12 name instead of just updating because of the syllables. DB12, DB6. Just having 11 was it's 3 freaking syllables. That's just too much. And it's going to be a great way to bow out this lineage here. We'll see what happens with the in the future with Aston, but this is now, and this will be around for, at least in America, I suspect, available for over 6, probably closer to 10 years. So in various guises, in various forms. Just absolutely stunning. Obviously the pictures don't do it justice. I can't wait to see this car in person. The earliest I will be able to see this, it will be at Pebble Beach in August. I can't imagine seeing it before in person, but here we go with some daytime shots. And here's a great example of that sensor in the bumper. Oh, it's like a pimple. Or maybe a gash. This is like, you hit your chin on the sidewalk, and then these are pimples, the radar sensors. I wish these could be hidden more, but again, not too big of a deal. And in certain angles, they disappear. But if this was just a little bit smaller, it could have been just put like in this area, right? In between 2 slats. If it was just a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit, it could have been integrated into the dash, or into the grill, sorry. But fantastic mirror design. And then the interior. They have thoroughly redesigned, not updated, redesigned the interior of the DB12. And thank God. I don't mind the old interior. I just don't care because it's an Aston Martin. I just don't care too much if the interior isn't flawless. But they really did a number on this. Look at that. I cannot wait to drive this car. Large carbon fiber paddles. That is at least a 6-inch paddle, which is a total necessity. And I can't tell you if they are wheel mounted or rim or column mounted, but based on their location, I'm going to suspect they are wheel mounted. Just a guess. We do have a quite substantial sensor box up here that almost intrudes on the. That is quite something. Hopefully that is not as large as it seems. But man, that's the state we are in right now with regulations across the world. Certainly in Europe and the United States, you have to have automatic braking. You have to have distance control for cruise control, and it's obviously competitive in the GT segment, if you will. But that's a little tragic. That is quite large. It would make more sense to have it further to the right, at least on the left-hand drive models, and then switch it for the other markets, us normal left-hand drive cars. Not too many buttons down here. We'll see how the angle of this screen translates into real world use. I suspect it will not be too much of an issue, especially for a tall bloke like myself. But I love the integration of the vents. Those look great. They look high quality. We got a leather dashboard, of course. This is probably going to use quite a bit of leather, I suspect, as is tradition. So yes, I was right. Front wheels, front tires, we'll say, 275, 35, 21. Now, I believe there is a 20-inch wheel option. And what we will do is we'll pop over to Aston Martin US. And just check out the wheel. British Sports Cars, USA. I should have thought of this prior. Would have been smart. Dang, we're at 20 minutes. 110 iconic years, yes. This is the new showroom in New York City. Very impressive. Very impressive. I didn't know people bought cars in New York City, but very impressive. Let's see your configurator. How convenient. Thanks, guys. Yep, that's me. English, DBS. I mean, that is already. I've been around a DBS quite consistently, and it is a stunning SUV, and there's so much room inside. And then we have the DB12. So let's check that out. Start configuration. Boom. I just want to see the wheel design, and then we'll leave it at that. Wheels being such a fun option for cars. So hey, they're 21s across the board. There's my answer. So we'll see this design here. Nice. I can appreciate a good 5-spoke, especially a 5 split spoke. Not bad. So 21s, they went full send on 21-inch wheels. That's pretty cool. And then we have this essentially 5-spoke, but with a second set of 5-spoke. So 10-spoke. Whoop. Oh, it switched angles on me. Oh, this is a killer configurator. Black, of course. And machined. Wow. That's a really good looking wheel, I have to say. I like the symmetry of it. I like the hiding of the lugs, the black lugs being hidden within the spokes. Great design. Well thought out. And then, of course, the gold, as we've seen. Bronze, they call it satin bronze. Y-spoke wheel, which is, a bit of a, maybe a Lamborghini-esque design. Certainly like the basket weave, almost BBS aesthetic. And then we have black, satin black of that same wheel. I would never get satin black wheels on this car. And what do we have here? Ooh, very interesting. Now, I do like this. The only thing it is missing is the rim being machined, because then you lose the diameter of the wheel within the tire, which is obviously the machine goes to the edge, but it needs the actual rim around it. And then I'd be happy. I like these a lot, though. And real quick, we'll just check out colors. Why not? Good Lord. Purples and blues, but what we do is we go for reds, and you go for a dark red. That's my opinion. I'm around wine a lot. I work in the wine industry, so a dark red, that's a little much. Scorpus red. Let's see here. Whew, that's a bright one. Scorpus, Supernova. How about Supernova? That's what I'm talking about. Like red wine. Yep. So elegant. It's not like a red sports car per se. I mean, granted it is, but I think you know what I mean. It's far more subdued when you get a dark ruby red going on. I like how it makes red lights disappear, tail lights. On other cars, this car has gray tail lights, so it's no big deal. I think that's the spec, though. Something along these lines. Keep the roof exactly how it is. Brakes, blackout brakes. I am completely done, in my opinion, with colored brake calipers. If there's a possibility of them being black or even like dark gray just so they completely disappear, that's me. It's played out. Everyone's painting their calipers, 6 ways from Sunday. Then we can see the grille finish. It's probably just bright and dark, I suspect. Yeah, of course you leave it bright. No question about that. Exterior packages, probably a bunch of carbon, right? Gloss black lower package. What would that do? What would the gloss black lower package? Okay, so it's unnoticeable. And then carbon, yeah. So it's just like splitters and stuff. No big deal. Yeah, I don't even want that. You don't want your car lower. It's the last thing you want is a low car lower to the ground if you want to use it ever, we could just check out purples and blues because they often do some really pretty ones. Check out this ultramarine black. Too dark. That makes it look like a DB11 though when you get this dark. It also makes the grille look smaller with a darker color. So that's something to think about. But how about this? Quasar blue. Quasar being a some thing in space. I think it's not an exploding star, but maybe it's an exploding galaxy, or maybe it is a galaxy, a quasar. Caribbean blue. We know what Caribbean is. That's pretty hot. It's almost like a silver blue. My friend has a 360 Ferrari 360 in this color, or close to it. Concourse blue. Almost a gray. Wow, that's pretty hot, actually. That's like a James Bond blue. James Bond silver, almost. How about that? And then there's also, of course, silvers and whites. What do you think? Well, Zenith white. Yeah, I couldn't do this car in white, especially with this damn sensor. Oh, it's painful. This damn sensor just, killing me, Aston. Look at that. It's literally almost the exact size of the grill square. It could have just been stuck right in there, hidden. Maybe it couldn't have. Obviously, they know what they're doing. It's just a little bit of a bummer. Maybe if the grill was a little bit smaller, it could have been hidden in this lower valance. But I adore the simplicity. I adore what they brought over from the DB11, especially the V8, because it's a lighter weight car. The weight distribution has moved back. This is going to be an incredibly dynamic car. And they've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, according to all the press information. It is, oh God, ultra yellow. What do you think the odds are of someone ordering this? I guess there are people that would order this. But like I said, red. Liquid crimson. I think liquid crimson is a little too dark, in my opinion. So I like supernova. You have to see it in person, right? Volcano red's pretty hot. No, it's not. And of course, yeah, like this all changes with, we can change it, the environment. Change it to night. This is a great, yeah, that's a little too night. Sorry, guys. Let's see environment. Go out to the countryside. Looks like Japan here. Japan at night. We'll go to day view. Yeah, just definitely not that color. Oh, there it is. Pretty cool. Thanks for following. It's a long video. Maybe I'll dice it up a little bit, but I'm excited about the DB12. I'm excited about Aston Martin. And I guess one last thing in my 30-minute video that was supposed to be 15 is this is just going to correlate to Formula One because Aston is doing quite well in Formula One, that Formula One needs to bring wheels back. This is just a tragedy that they have the wheel covers in Formula One. I'm going to make a separate video about this, but come on. The option of having, we'll just, say, oh, I didn't check that. Let's check out the greens. Let's check out the greens real quick. Buckinghamshire green. Ooh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. Buckinghamshire. Yes. Ooh. It's a nice green. So we do that. Imagine having Fernando Alonso on a gold wheel with his green car and Lance Stroll on a silver wheel on his green car. So then when you're looking at the side profile of the car at 180 miles an hour pick a track, we're going to Silverstone next, you can instantly know who you're looking at. They need to eliminate those wheel covers. I know they brought them in for aerodynamic purposes, but it's just unacceptable. They went to 18s to make them more road relevant, and then they put these wheel covers on them that make them look not road relevant. It was a ridiculous plan. They need to eliminate the wheel covers and let each car on the team have a different wheel color. And then that's the one thing where wheel design can be different between manufacturers. So Ferrari uses BBS and Aston uses whoever, NK. I think there are currently different wheel manufacturers, and that'd be one of the few areas where the lay person would detect a difference between the two cars, between a Ferrari and an Aston, other than the paint. Obviously, seasoned people can detect a lot of differences between the cars, but I really believe this would be a huge help to Formula One, and we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for watching. If you got anything out of this, give the video a like if you can. That would be rad. And hopefully, if we get a like, and we get a few more likes and a few more watches, maybe I'll be able to get some video of this car at some point here in California. Thanks so much for watching. We will talk soon. Peace.